You blokes dropped off the Bulldogs last week, and I just hope you don't make the same mistake with Freo, because if they get their best side back in, Mike,
he's the member.
They won't. You won't want to be playing the Dockers over in the West.
I agree with that, and they could have won Saturday night, and they have got a few out. I'm with you.
They did everything to lose Saturday night.
They did. They didn't want to win Saturday night. We saw the game.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
In fact, don't miss the bloopers because there's a certain Fremantle captain.
9
featuring.
players out of Fremantle's best team. They weren't the Fremantle side we've seen this year with their players out.
But you mentioned, Hurdy, that they tried everything to lose this Fremantle. They eventually got their way. One bloke who's been a star all year, Aaron Sandilands, he's got some work to do as well. We put together some of his one of his really good ones and a couple of poor ones. Big bashes are fine if they go somewhere, but if they go straight to a Richmond player, then it becomes a toxic hit. And here's 2 goals from poor hits.
It's not the hitting area, because you're always going to have a defensive guy, defensive forward sitting out there, but you do wonder whether there's a Fremantle runner who was meant to get on the end of both of those. This is the good one. This is the hit to the runner. Kepler Bradley kicks the goal there, but the one in defence, typically as a ruckman, in those defensive situations, you want to keep the ball pretty tight and keep it close to the pack, because as soon as you let it out into space, that's normally where a forward's going to be losing.
Same ground, 7 days earlier. Will Minson to Sam Mitchell. Goal. Game over.
Yep.
So isn't there a breakdown in communication there somewhere? That the ruckman... someone should have known that he was going to do that, should they not?
That's right. There should have been a runner on the ground who knew that's where the ball was going.
That's if he knew that's where it was going, or maybe he just made his decision up where he saw it put on the tee and he went whack. So it's a... I mean, there is a communication issue, and if, in fact, they had decided to stick it down here and he just went bang himself independently, then I'm sure that's... he'll be hauled over the coals. One thing that came out of that game is whether or not we need to introduce professionals, or clubs need to introduce professionals, stewards on the boundary line, because there was an interchange mark up here. In fact, there was potentially 2, and it robbed Fremantle of some momentum.
Players' responsibility, Jared, I reckon.
Yep, I agree.
Well, they might have a steward there.
Well, I mean, how could you tell me, you run that, tell me what's going on there and who's supposed to be doing what?
I think it's as simple as when you see a player come off, I know 3 can come off at once, the guy steps over the white line, you're on the yellow box, you step over the yellow line. I know a lot of players come on and off, but you've got to have the awareness not to let that happen. I blame the players rather than the steward for that.
You can't have a full-time steward. What's he going to...
I'm not saying have a full-time. He's a part-timer. He lives in Melbourne. He does it here. He doesn't do it over there. It's such an important part. Collingwood, you don't see make mistakes.
How do they practice it?
Well, they do it every week, Mike. Surely that's the way. And they do it, and they implement plans. They meet with players, etc., and have a system.
I've got a bigger complaint than that. That cost them a goal. But Sandilands and Stephen Hill, and Stephen Hill is as good as kickers on the run as there is in the competition, missed 2 goals from 25 metres.
Didn't help the cause, for sure.